like to reconvene this meeting of the Lakota Board of Education. Jenny, will you please call the roll?
Mrs. Casper? Here. Mr. Lovell?
Here.
Mrs. O'Connor?
Here.
Mrs. Schaefer?
Here. Will you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion. Oh, sorry.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Jenny, will you please call the roll?
Mrs. Casper?
Yes.
Mr. Lovell?
Yes.
Mrs. O'Connor?
Yes.
Mrs. Schaefer?
Yes. We have some meeting conflicts and different calendar conflicts, so our next meeting will be June 28th instead of June 25th. And also, I'd just like to thank everyone who came out last night for the prayer vigil that happened in the West Stadium. One of our community members, Matt Stratman, is having a health issue, and we thank everyone who came out to support his family in this very challenging time and lift their family up. It was very powerful the way that We Are Lakota community came together in very short notice, and we continue to lift his family up in this time and are so thankful for all of you for continuing to do that. So thank you to everyone who came out last night. And with that, superintendent's comments.
Thank you, Mrs. Schaefer. Just a couple quick items. One would be we had our first administrative summer meeting the other day. It went very well. We worked on a lot of the items that we're cleaning up on in terms of things that have happened in the district, our realignment with our K-6s. We started talking about making plans to make adjustments in our high school calendar. So we have some other things, or high school structure. We have some things in place for that. I know that a lot of our staff was involved today in train the trainer model for E+R equals O, so a lot of things going on. We also had our kickoff to our summer learning series for our staff just about 2 weeks ago. So we have several book clubs involving all members of our staff, almost 300 of our staff members involved with that. And then I might cause Chris Passarge to pass out maybe, but I think our classified staff is almost ahead of schedule right now, so I think things are moving along pretty well. Right? There you go. So, all good right now.
Great. Treasurer's comments?
This evening, the first thing I want to say is it's June, and so at our next meeting, we will have fiscal year-end items to approve, just like we always do in June. I always like to do a shout out to everyone in the treasurer's office because there's a tremendous amount of work that goes on during the month of June and the beginning of July to close out our books and begin a new year. So just wanted to do that little shout out. And then tonight, Julie Joyce-Smith from the Butler County Auditor's Office is here for the second quarter 2008 update.
Thank you so much, and I'm grateful. The last time I was here in March, I had to follow the cutest kindergartner in the whole world. So I am really glad that I don't have that to follow tonight. So thank you. When we do these outreach opportunities, a lot of things we talk about are things that you've heard from us in the past, Board of Revision, our skimmers, and things like that. But I thought it might be interesting to just give you a slightly different perspective on how Board of Revision can affect the numbers for your district. Board of Revision is an opportunity where a taxpayer can appeal the appraised value of their property. For 2017, we were in a triennial update year, which means it was just a sales market analysis approach. We didn't go out and physically inspect properties, but we pretty much painted neighborhoods with a broad brush as far as raises or increases, decreases, just straight out percentages. For this year, we had a total number of 765 Board of Revision cases filed. Well, how does that stack up to other years? Our last triennial update back in 2011, we had 2,288 cases. And then our last physical reappraisal in 2014, we had 1,441 cases. So we're just a little over half of what we had in our last physical reappraisal. These numbers speak volumes to us. In the years since Roger Reynolds came into office, we have changed our approach in the form of the reappraisal cycles. We no longer contract with large firms located in Montgomery or Hamilton County. We have trained our staff, got them fully certified to be appraisers, and have taken responsibility, ownership of the reappraisals. Our appraisal staff, they live in Butler, they work in Butler, they know Butler, and we feel like these border revision numbers are speaking volumes about the fact that we've taken it over in-house. It's been a cost savings for us and for the taxpayers, so that's always a win-win. For Lakota, there were 142 cases filed this year with a total of 221 parcels. 54 parcels in the commercial industrial category are seeking a total decrease of $25 million. That's not 100% appraised value, that's the 35%. And while that seems like a really large number, the amount of revenue is not really enough to really be concerned at, because not all of those cases will be successful. They won't all get their reduction as they want. We had 100 parcels in the residential and agricultural side of the thing of our appraisals. They are seeking a total decrease of 1.8 million, so relatively small in comparison. There were 66 parcels where the school board is the original complainant seeking an increase, and those are all commercial industrial properties. And we have one commercial industrial parcel where the owner is seeking an increase to the tune of $11,550 and 35% value. So again, these are just the numbers. I thought it might be interesting for you to hear from our perspective. We feel we're doing a better job in-house with the appraisals, and we're seeing those complaints filed dwindle down to a very low number for a county of our size. So that brings me to the next item. While we did complete the 17 triennial, our 2020 physical reappraisal is right around the corner, and we are gearing up for that. Again, that will be completed in-house. The first step of that is to update our street level imaging, the photos, the fronts of the homes and businesses. Now, we do contract out for that, and we have begun doing that early in April. We started. It is a 6-phase process, and the company that we're contracting with is working their way through Butler County. They've currently completed 2 phases and are on to phase 3, and I believe the Lakota community is in phase 4, so probably a month from now. There will be white vans clearly marked Butler County Imaging Project, emblazoned on the side, so they're very clear to see. We do not walk around and photograph anything individually. We do not video anything. So if constituents, and now the kids are out for the summer, we just want to stress that if you are uncomfortable about something, question it. Call our office. We'll be happy to tell you where the vans are. We do keep the local dispatch and police departments aware of where we're going to be throughout the summer. So again, we're not physically walking around snapping photos. That's not us. If you see somebody, that's not us. So that is the update on that. The skimmer update, we're still good to go on that. We're holding at 20 so far over the life of us looking for these skimmers. We haven't found any additional, and unfortunately the Skim Plus product that's available for Android is still not available for Apple, but we're keeping an eye on the progress. And finally, I'm not sure if any of you saw where Auditor Reynolds had a press conference about quality fuel testing. We had a situation here after the heavy rains with the gas station on Dimmick and 42, where several cars reported water in their tanks and their vehicles were disabled. That owner is working very, very diligently with the insurance companies involved, and there's really, with the amount of rain, it's one of those things that happens from time to time. But it made us take a look again at quality fuel testing in Ohio. Ohio is one of 3 states, along with Alaska and Nebraska, that have absolutely no fuel quality testing programs in place. 10 years ago, the Ohio legislature passed some law that said if Ohio was to do this, the Ohio Department of Agriculture would have to implement it uniformly across the state of Ohio. Well, while the bill passed, no funding ever followed and nothing ever happened. So here we are 10 years down the road. What we're finding is that because there are 3 states in the United States that don't have fuel quality testing, where do you think the bad gas gets sold? So what we are proposing is we're at the pumps. We're checking for quantity. Why not allow the auditors to check for quality? We are willing to take on the cost for the testing and the initial equipment purchases and things of that nature. Now in Ohio, there is one county that is a charter county. Summit County does do fuel quality testing. So in this particular case, we were able to borrow some equipment from them to help out the situation at the Sunoco on Dimmick Road. But what we're asking is that as a board, not sure what kind of power you have to reach out to your representatives, but as people who vote, we're very, very interested in trying to get some excitement and try to get the attention of our legislation to let them know that Ohio needs quality fuel testing. So that's about all I have for me. I've shared my talking points from the slogan, and a copy of the map, if you're interested, is when we're going to be out taking pictures. And of course, if you have any questions, I'll do my best to answer them.
Good. It's always so thorough. We have no questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Julie.
All right, Jenny, would you like to go into your presentation?
Toggle.
Okay, so Matt and I are going to tag team this. He assured me that I start out.
If you need help.
Yeah, I'm going. Okay, so we have discussed this prior, and there was a countywide informational meeting, what, about a month ago, I believe. And so now we're at that point in time where decisions are going to need to take place on whether to move forward with a, it would actually be the creation of a county school financing district, which would then be able to levy a tax for, just like this says, current expenses for school safety and security and mental health services, including training and employment of or contracting for the services of safety personnel, mental health personnel, social workers, and counselors. So this is what's being considered, is an actual levy for that purpose. We have been asked, can't school districts do their own levy for safety and security? We can, but the language surrounding a levy for a local district does not include the language that this one does that says specifically mental health services. So this one is more inclusive of those type of items. So that's why it's being considered.
And I think all of us would agree that the mental health piece and the social work piece is something we always talk about, and the services that we provide our kids and needing more of those.
The duration of the levy can be 10 years, up to 10 years, or it can be continuing. Right now, currently, the preliminary plan, based on all of the conversations that we've had countywide, the way it looks is, if it moves forward, it would be a November 2018 ballot issue. The funds would be distributed based on assessed valuation, which means if you live in Lakota, your money's going to go to Lakota. If you live in Hamilton, your money's going to go to Hamilton, and it would be divided. It would look like any other normal levy. The conversations right now are the amount of the levy would be somewhere between 1.5 and 2 mills. That's honestly the biggest point that has not been decided upon yet. In the 10-year duration. Most folks, because this is new and a continuing levy, they'd rather stick with the 10-year duration and then assess it and see at that point in time whether it's something that they would want to continue.
And that probably adds an accountability piece, which I think would be good for the whole county. The other thing I would just point out here is a lot of the smaller districts are pushing more for the 2 mills because it would generate more revenue for them, which makes sense.
Correct. For Lakota, the annual revenue, and this is just between 1.5 is about $4.4 million a year, and 2 mills is $5.9 million a year. So that's how much revenue it would generate for us. The cost to the taxpayer, and this is based on a $100,000 home value, is between $5,250 and $70 annually, or $438 to $583 a month. The process that we're looking at, the governing board would have to actually create the county school financing district, and they would do that by a resolution. Once they adopt that resolution and create it, each school district is going to need to decide whether they want to stay in it or withdraw. If we're already a local district in Butler County participating with the ESC, we are automatically part of this CSFD. If we did not want to be part of that, then we would have to withdraw, and we would have to pass a resolution to withdraw. If you're a district outside of Butler County and you want to be part of this, you could actually pass a resolution. Let's say a district in Hamilton County wanted to be part of this CSFD. They could actually pass a resolution that they want to join, and then there would have to be a decision made whether they would be allowed in. But for us, we're automatically in. So the timeline for us that we're looking at is June 14th, which is Thursday. All districts, representatives from the districts are going to meet and talk about what we believe those terms should be of a levy. And then only if, and then the ESC would actually approve a resolution creating the CSFD. And they would do that the week of the 18th. After that's created, the only thing we would have to do during June is if we don't want to be part of that after they create it, we would need to pass a resolution in our final board meeting in June saying, we want out. We don't want to be part of this. And then continuing on, like I mentioned, if you're outside of the territory and you want to become part of it, that's what number 3 speaks to. If you want to stay in, then what has to happen is member districts have to pass identical resolutions requesting the CSFD, which would be the County Board ESC, Educational Service Center Board of Education, to levy the tax. And then the ESC follows that same guide that we do as far as the timeline on all those resolutions in the timeline to pass it. So they'd have to pass a resolution and then of necessity pass it on the county auditor who's going to certify the millage, and then they have to pass the resolution to proceed and file it with the County Board of Elections 90 days before the election. So in July, if we would decide, let's say this happens, and we decide to stay in, then in July, our board meeting, July 16th, you would be adopting a resolution requesting the CSFD to levy the tax for the November ballot. July 16th. So that would have to happen in July. That's the identical resolution that all of the districts would have to pass. And then in August, the ESC is going to file no later than the 8th of August to put it on the ballot for November. Questions?
Jenny, the ESC, and Jenny's been running obviously point because they asked for one person per district. Jenny's running point for us. Butler County ESC has the final say on what the millage rate will be, correct?
So each district would pass an identical resolution asking them to levy it, and my understanding is that resolution would state the millage amount.
Right. Okay.
But then, yes, they would have to pass that resolution to put it on the ballot.
So do the representatives from the different districts vote on the millage, or
There won't
How's
be an
the village
actual,
gonna
I
do
don't know that there will be an actual
think it's
vote, it's just consensus.
Negotiations, yeah.
Yeah,
So you would know the millage before we had to adopt the resolution. The millage will be in the resolution.
yes. And it's looking like it's between 1.5 and 2 right now. Any other questions? Okay,
Thanks, Jenny.
that's it. Thanks a lot.
All right, we now have our first opportunity for public comment regarding anything that is an agenda item. If anyone would like to address the board at this time, they may do so. See no one, we'll move to Board Policy Committee. Brad?
We did not have a meeting. There wasn't any updates for us to discuss.
All right. Community Engagement Committee, Kelly? We don't really have anything either. We have Butler Tech?
Tech, June 19th.
Legislative?
This?
Just
Start this time?
moving right along, go ahead.
So the House had been in kind of a prolonged recess, trying to figure out who the speaker was going to be. That has finally, Speaker Ryan Smith has been named.
That's what I was doing too, I was saying Ryan.
Ryan Smith has been put into place, and they pushed through 28 bills very quickly in the last week. There've also been 11 new bills introduced having to do with education. Some of them you know about: revision of the report card, student expulsions, school license plate program, school bus program, several other pieces. So just pieces we'll keep our eye on. Yeah.
I think you hit the
Yep.
points I was going
All right. Diversity Committee?
The other thing I'll report is, I know I'm going, I think there are a couple of us that are going to a training at Children's Hospital in July for LGBTQT issues, and so I'll report back after that. But that's all I had.
All right. And with that, we'll move to Treasurer's recommendations. Do I have a motion to approve Treasurer's items A through C?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
I did have a question as I was looking at school fees,
Mhm.
Cindy. There was quite a bit of difference between the language fees and other fees at the high school level. Is there a reason for that?
I would have to go back and actually look exactly at that course, but what we do is this. We take a look at, each high school principal works with their team internally to say, what supplies are you going to need for these courses? And then they sit down and go through it at the building level, and then it comes to us. We take a look at it as, what have you spent in the past few years according to those courses? What are you asking for? And then there's a little bit of negotiations that goes on there. And we also look at East versus West, and making sure that it's pretty comparable there. But I would have to get those specific courses, but I could get that background on it. Yeah.
Did you see any significant increases in comparison?
No, we actually we've decreased. There was one fee for the junior high, and I'm not going to remember exactly what that course was, but there's a course where a fee was actually tied to it, and we've revised that actual course. So we reduced the fees at the junior highs. Nothing has gone up. There was actually a reduction. So the other thing I wanted to mention, there were some fees that we were also at the high school where we reduced as well. There will be no fee for parking for high schoolers. There was also a fee for Naviance, and we're using that really with our counseling, and we felt like that was more of a district expense and should not be passed along as a fee. So there was more reductions instead of really no.
I know in PSAT, there's no expense for that.
Yeah.
And the fees are all for consumables.
That is
So-
correct, consumables, specific to the student and used up for that year.
So we have approval of board meeting minutes, approval of school fees, and approval of fund-to-fund transfer for extracurriculars. Jenny, will you please call the roll?
Mrs. O'Connor?
Yes.
Mr. Lovell?
Yes.
Mrs. Casper?
Yes.
Mrs. Schaefer?
Yes. Do I have a motion for superintendent's recommendations A through E?
I'll move.
Any discussion? Right, we have approval of personnel items, approval of a base and alternate bid for a pole barn, resolution declaring transportation and practical, a field trip, and donations. Jenny, will you please call the roll?
Mrs. Casper?
Yes.
Mrs. O'Connor?
Yes.
Mr. Lovell?
Yes.
Mrs. Schaefer?
Yes. This brings us for our second opportunity for public comment. If anyone would like to address the board on any subject, they may do so at this time. Seeing no one, we move to closing comments.
Matt's turn to go first.
Yes.
Last time.
I want to thank C3 and under Linda's leadership for our session we had probably just about 10 days ago on the mental health issues facing our community. I thought it went really, really well. Could not have gone better. Kudos to our student panel. But thank you, Linda, for setting that up and getting that going. And a lot of great information, a lot of networking. I think that happened as well. So I was glad that Lakota was a part of that. So thanks for letting us do that. The other piece that was sort of tied into that I think will help our kids and our staff moving forward too is one of the things I've been thinking about is since we start school on a Thursday, that we use those first 2 days on relationship building, culture building, and not cracking open a book until Monday. And so I talked to the principals and administrators and said, if you had 2 days where you could work on not just those two, but 2 at the start of the school year, where you could work on culture, team building, relationships, learning names, things like that, that's what we should do. So that's the direction that we're going to go in. And so I'm looking forward to building that out up into the first day of school. That's all I got. Said enough.
I would just like to, and Matt already mentioned this, but there's a tremendous amount of work that's going on this summer. Every summer there is, but Mr. Passarge's team and Mr. Wesley's team, technology and building and grounds and facilities, hats off to those folks. Like Matt said, they're on schedule, but they're just getting it done like they always do, and just want them to know they're appreciated. So that's it.
Thank you, Pat and Team Man, for the work that you did on the mental health conference as well. And I also want to say thanks to the entire board. All of the board attended. I really appreciated all of them being there. I think we were all amazed at how articulately our students shared their thoughts within this crowd of adults and did a really great job of representing their peers in that conversation. There'll be some follow-up to it and possibly a longer, more extended panel using the same kids. So we'll be letting you know when that's going on. I also want to say thank you for the work that goes on in the summer with IT, with the custodians in the building, with Chris's group with the grounds and all the rest of it, and our school staff is still in the building in the front office and doing their work too, so appreciate all of that.
My turn. Enjoyed the mental health seminar as well. It was well attended with the right people there, and it was really great seeing so many different people from our community, different aspects of our community coming together to say, this is important, let's elevate this and let's have bigger discussions around it. Also, I just, on the top of my mind, I was on social media, on Twitter, prior to the meeting, and I was just kind of flipping through and looking at some of the stuff happening in our schools, and I just want to give a shout out to our parents in our community, how much effort and energy they continue to put into our schools. I happened to see a parent group out at Creekside putting together out there in the hot heat phase 1 or 2, actually phase 2 of their playground. Looks phenomenal. It just speaks to the power of our PTOs, to our community, to invest back into our schools, coming out in those hot days to literally put the equipment in the ground. And I think I saw too that Adina's got another phase of their playground going in. So I just think it's important to take a step back sometimes and realize that in the midst of all the work we're doing and our staff is doing, our parents love this place. They love our schools. They love our teachers. And they just want to continue to give back as well. So it's fun to watch that.
I don't really have anything, ditto just the mental health conference. I just continue to be impressed with our students. They're so articulate, they are so honest, and they don't seem to get frazzled. I mean, I know you said at the beginning they were all very nervous, waiting, and I didn't see that in any of them. I thought they were all,
Gave them some things to do. They were
there you
ready.
go. I thought they all did an elegant job, so it's nice to see them participate, so that's really all I had.
And I'd like to how much learning I've seen amongst all of our staff. So our kids may not be here learning, but there's plenty of learning going on amongst our staff right now that you can see. And again, you said Twitter's a kind of a window into all the classrooms, or I think that was said in one of our community conversations, so it's been nice to see that window. And again, just continue thoughts for me, from all of us, to the Stratman family. I know they have been heavily on my heart ever since Saturday of how precious life is in every moment, and I think we all have been trying to lift up their family, and it's just unimaginable how quickly things can change. You're playing lacrosse one moment, and things change in an instant. So just makes you all step back and value every moment we have. So with that, do I have a motion to adjourn? Jenny, will you please call the roll?
Mrs. O'Connor? Yes. Mr. Lovell?
Yes.
Mrs. Casper?
Yes.
Mrs. Schaefer?
Yes.